Did you see the double barrel of the ABC News Washington Post poll and then the NBC News polls? So, okay, maybe the 10-point Trump lead is an outlier, but now I was listening to Morning Wire today. There have been 10 polls matching up Trump versus Biden over the past couple of months. I think they said like 4 show them tied, 4 show Trump up, and 2 show Biden up. But I haven't seen anything that's showing a lead like this. And the left is having an absolute meltdown because if you look inside these polls, and you and I will, all of the data is bad for Joe Biden. It's not like, oh, Biden's really strong, and so it's weird that they came up with a 10-point Trump lead. No, all of the data, a job approval on economy, approval on immigration, you go down the list, is absolutely dreadful for the sitting president. What do you make of it all?
Several things. And first of all, I want to just enjoy it for a second because I mean, here's Donald Trump, who's facing 500 years in federal prison, and there's been obviously a scheme hatched against him. And he's stronger than ever, objectively stronger than ever, far stronger than he was in 2020 against Joe Biden. Going back to January, it's very clear the Democrats made a couple predictions for this year. They thought that Donald Trump would be in a very bitter and brutal and nasty Republican primary that would make Donald Trump have to constantly be distracted from Nikki Haley to Mike Pence to DeSantis. That has not materialized. There really is not much of a Republican primary. There's a Republican Party in name, but Trump's not even showing up to the debates, and it's really not much of anything. He's up 40 or 50 points or 30 points in Iowa, and that's the worst state that he's performing in. So the media was wrong about that, and they wanted it badly. They thought they could really damage him and wound him ahead of a general election. The second thing is they went all in on this lawfare strategy. They thought that Donald Trump was going to become deeply unpopular. They wanted to create almost like a wounded animal scenario where Donald Trump was backed into a corner and he had everything against him and he would just become the worst version of himself. Megyn, I'll be honest, he's been more disciplined, been more clear than anything I saw towards the latter part of the 2020 election. And so that didn't work at all. Finally, there's a couple other things. I know that this is going to make some people in your audience laugh. The insiders who centrally plan everything, they underestimated just how deeply unpopular Joe Biden is and how unpopular he was becoming. And this changed. It was a little bit of a closer race between Trump and Biden back in the spring, but this summer it just fell off a cliff. I mean, this poll, I'm going to comment on it in a second because even I, as a Trump supporter, I don't even totally believe the poll, and I'm going to tell you what I think is really going on here, but it's alarming every single Democrat pundit. And then another variable that's important to isolate here, Megyn, is the rise of third-party candidates that can cause a lot of headaches for Joe Biden and the Democrat Party. A potential no labels campaign. Cornel West is looking strong, and the Green Party is going to be probably on the ballot in a lot of the target states where they were not on the ballot in 2020. Remember, in 2016, a lot of Democrats blamed Green Party candidate Jill Stein for robbing the presidency from Hillary Clinton. And if all the Green Party ballots would have went to Hillary Clinton, she would have beat Donald Trump. So you put all these variables together, the people that thought they had a perfect plan for 2023, the plan's not going so well. Now, what do I think is really going on here? Even as a Trump supporter, I would love to believe that Donald Trump is up 10 points or 12 points against Joe Biden. I think that's a little bit much. But I think this is just another piece of evidence of the media, pollsters, or people in charge trying to get Joe Biden to not run. You saw this with the David Ignatius piece. Joe Biden should not run for president in the Washington Post. All of a sudden, you saw Hunter Biden indictment. You're seeing piece after piece, a lot of evidence mount where I think they're trying to send a message to Ron Klain and the really group of 8 or 10 people that are white knuckling onto power in the White House. And Megyn Kelly, Megyn, I'll be honest, like I look at what I see right now in front of us. I want to run against Joe Biden. I want to run against, this corrupt, unable to speak, less than desirable president. So that's what I think is going on here. And the people in charge are scrambling, and they thought they would have Donald Trump in that position. They thought it would be the exact opposite. They thought it would be Trump down 10 points, not Joe Biden down 10 points.
Yeah. What's amazing is, you're right, it's Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a serious problem for them because even, if you look further down the polls, Nikki Haley's beating Joe Biden by 4 or 5 points too. Ron DeSantis in at least one of these polls is losing to Joe Biden by 2 points. But the point is the Republicans are doing well. And the electorate's looking at the Republicans as a very viable option. And yet you look over on the Dem side, who do they replace him with, Charlie? There's not, like God forbid something had happened to Donald Trump. The GOP would say, yeah, okay, Ron DeSantis is acceptable. Nikki Haley, clearly they feel is acceptable. Like they have other choices that they could get behind enthusiastically. Not so over on the Dem side.
Yeah, that's a great point. And also, it's not just going to be a seamless baton transfer, right? Kamala Harris, she's waited her whole life for this, right? She's not just going to, go to the side for a Gretchen Whitmer or a Gavin Newsom. So they're in a really tough spot here because they basically said we're not going to have a Democrat primary. Remember, the party of democracy doesn't want to have a Democrat primary. And every time I hear democracy, just replace democracy with oligarchy, and it makes total sense. Our oligarchy is under attack. Our oligarchy has never been in a more fragile spot. Our oligarchy, is falling apart. Makes perfect sense. They don't mean democracy. They mean oligarchy. They mean rule of the few, not of the people. But this is not an easy solution, right? So there's going to be a really heated kind of series of meetings that I'm sure we're going to learn about through leaks and through backstabbing of, do we, just anoint Gavin Newsom? Do we make, Vice President Harris the nominee, who, by the way, is even less popular than Joe Biden, which is amazing to think about. And then I think the consensus candidate they're going to try to float is Gretchen Whitmer. Michelle Obama looks as if she has zero interest whatsoever to do this. I know that name is, rather fashionable to, kind of probe and put out there. But the Democrats at this point, they thought that they could control every single one of the variables going into 2024. Think about it. They somewhat did this in 2020. Mass mail-in ballots, constantly having the COVID porn on television with all the fear porn, with the death counts, the mask mandates, the race riots, and then censoring the Hunter Biden laptop story. They thought they could do this again in 2024. It turns out that what happened in 20 was remarkable, and Molly Ball detailed it in her Time magazine piece, Inside the Shadow Campaign, that won the 2020 election, when Mark Elias and many others were hosting Zoom calls about potentially having people go in the streets, and labor unions and billionaires all coming together. This plan is not going well for them at all. Does that mean that Republicans are going to win? I sure hope so. I'm not going to make any guarantees because the Democrats still have a far superior political machine in the key states that matter for ballot harvesting, ballot chasing, voter registration, suing to try to relax some of those standards. But for the people that look as if they can centrally plan everything, they're really in panic right now. And quite honestly, I'm enjoying every second of it.
Yeah, you will never underestimate the Republicans' ability to screw it up.
Correct.
I never really get too into the debt fights, and the funding fights, because I've been at this long enough to realize they always wind up funding it. It's like what they take us to the brinksmanship, and then it always winds up they fund it. So it's like, why did I play this game over and over? But I will say right now, Biden's approval numbers on the economy are absolutely dreadful. And if I were a sitting Republican, I wouldn't do anything to blame shift that over to me. I really wouldn't. But just politically speaking, I would say fund it. Don't give them one. Already on NPR this morning, I listen to NPR's Up First in the mornings as well. And they're already getting ready to shift the blame. Oh,
Yep.
There's been some economic headwinds, they're coming our way and this won't help. This won't help. They're going to, so don't underestimate the Republicans' ability to screw these things up. Okay, but let's get into the numbers on this poll. Let's start with the overall approval rating for Joe Biden. NBC News pointing out over the weekend, these are the lowest of his presidency. Disapproval of Joe Biden, this is the NBC poll, 56%, approval 41%. The ABC News Washington Post poll, even worse, disapproval's the same, 56%. They're both getting a 56% disapproval. They say approval at 37%. On the economy, sticking with the ABC, disapproval of 64%. So you've got 2/3 of the electorate who are very unhappy about how the economy's doing. The border, 62%, again, almost 2/3, disapprove of what's happening at the southern border. They're angry about it. They see what we're seeing. So none of what the Democrats are doing, for once, is working. Usually they send out their talking points to the media. The media says, Bidenomics. And then the opinions start to turn on the economy. Oh, maybe Bidenomics is a good thing. Or, same thing about the southern border. Neither one is working. Huge swaths of the electorate are deeply unhappy about both of those two things. Just for a moment, let's push the politics and all the crazy news these days to the side and talk about dogs. Seriously, Delta Rescue. You may have heard of them. They're an organization that has dedicated their mission to providing lifelong care to rescued animals from the wilderness. Dogs, cats, horses too. This can be something everyone agrees on. Delta Rescue providing for and protecting the animals we love the most. As humans, our relationship with dogs goes back a long way, horses too. And dogs have been our hunting guides, protectors, and sweet companions. They're part of the family. If all this makes sense to you and you love dogs and animals, check out Delta Rescue and consider making a gift. Delta Rescue relies solely on the contributions of people like all of us to provide care for life for their 1,500 plus animals. You can call them and ask questions and learn more about their super sanctuary, and know that every gift counts no matter how small. It all counts. Please go to deltarescue.org today. That's deltarescue.org. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.